Hello. I think if you're a creative person, you need to reframe what you do as a sport, that it's athletic, and that like any other sport, you need to train your muscles. And so what we've learned is that sometimes when you rehearse, when you're not actually doing the sport, you even can get better because you're visualizing yourself do it. So if you read about famous athletes, you'll see that they use visualization as a technique. So what I discovered was that it's not so easy to just visualize. And you can get mental pictures of things, but it's not the same as getting them sort of in your core and getting yourself to physically be in a state of where you want to be. So what I discovered was this practice that I've been teaching, the Word of the Day, can be used to get yourself into the flow state without any preamble. I mean, meditation is great. Anything you do is great. But this is, if you're a working creative person, you need to get to it. The practice of doing the Word of the Day cluster will connect the various parts of you and get you directly into the flow state, and you can stay there. And this means that when you're doing your act of creation, like any great athlete, you are in that place where you are able to just, sink the basket or paint that painting or get that perfect word, because you're in the state of receptivity and all the parts of you are acting in concert. There's no contradictory energy coming on, and you have a vision of where you want to be. So one of the reasons to do the practice for 30 days, where you get up in the morning and you take a pad and you've already written a circle with circles around it connected to it, and when you wake up you think of a word or you have a pre-organized word, and that you spend 2 minutes using a timer to free associate to the word. But the difference is that you train yourself to go from image to word. So you close your eyes, you take a breath, and if you think of a word like yellow, you wait until you get a mental picture. It could be a sunny beach, it could be lemons, whatever it is, and then you write down the word that describes the image that you see. This is a way of retraining your left and right brain to work much more comprehensively, because it takes the creative side of our brain longer to form an image than it does to come up with a bunch of words. And that impatience is often what prevents us from being successful and keeps us out of the flow state, because we're taught to judge our own performance. How come you're not writing 500 words? How come you're not writing fast enough? Why didn't you get that painting done? Why isn't that garden planted? And that part, which we've been taught to respect, is actually the most dangerous and destructive part of ourselves. And here's the big drum roll: it's not part of ourselves. We just accepted it is because it was installed when we were so young. So rather than trying to combat that, it's much easier, I think, to call on the part of your brain that works in images, because it shuts down this inner critic, because the inner critic has to criticize you in language. And when you move into images, you're not working in languages, you're working in the state, as I said, as athletes imagine themselves, getting a goal or whatever. So the flow state should become something that you are used to commanding on will. It's not something you have to get into, no elaborate practices. You simply sit down and you take a breath and do a word of the day, and there you go. So if you're interested in having this much control over your creativity, please see below to find out more.